Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize. Been out a couple of days. Been real busy. Had some events to have to. I went to, and my youngest boy, graduate tomorrow. So it's been really busy. But I'm back today. So today, what we're going to talk about today, Monday. Well, I guess we'll talk about legacy because I kind of brought that up on Friday. A high school classmate of mine, who graduated the same year, retired from the Air Force as a full bird colonel. And I was blessed to be able to attend, and that he invited me to come. Listening to his bio and just all the things that he's done and the type of legacy that he's leaving with the Air Force, which is what he was in, it's just tremendous. And me and him talked a little bit about it when we got to his house afterwards. But legacy is an important deal because, and I teach my boys this, and it seems like my youngest is really taking a hold of it. Legacy, if it can, as like anything else, can be good and bad. Okay, legacy can be good and bad. But primarily, we're going to talk about the good part of legacy, of course. And the reason I tell my boys that, because I want them to leave a legacy. That people can, people can remember them by. You always want to leave a legacy of some sort, whether it be a legacy for the public, for your family, whatever it might be. You always want to leave a legacy behind. And so in doing so, you want people to remember not necessarily just you, but whatever it is that you were doing, especially if it's an important thing. Okay, all right. Especially if it's an important thing. Okay, you want to leave the legacy. So people can remember. Not only you, but the important thing that you might have did. For instance. We talked about royalty a little while, a couple of videos back. And part of legacy for them is that, the oldest child becomes the next monarch, whether it be a boy or a girl. It used to always be that way, but that's the way it is now. And so, it's important. Legacy is important. Back before then, if you didn't have a boy, then you weren't able to leave legacy because, royalty was all about having a boy, and the legacy of going through the male line. Well, that's not the case anymore, except for in Spain. Still that case in Spain, but, and again, I apologize. There's so many bumps and things in these doggone roads here in Birmingham. And so legacy is very important. You have to have an heir. Okay. And legacy is important to even parents who have children. It's still the case that if you have sons, they carry on the name. We know that daughters do not. Daughters do not carry on the name. Daughters do not carry on the name. They obviously carry on their husband's name when they marry, or they hyphenate it, the new modern way of doing things. But the sons carry on the family name. So legacy is important. I have 3 sons, so I have no problems with that. My name will be carried on through them, and prayerfully when they have children and have sons, the name will be carried on. But I teach them that because I want them to not only work hard, but be impactful in whatever they do. So my youngest son is president of many clubs in his high school and was in charge of the school store. Before he became, in charge of the school store, the store wasn't really making any money. It really wasn't. Nobody was going to it. It was pretty much nothing. But my son got a hold of it because he has a good business mind and has made that school thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in profit. Made it popular where there's lines wrapped down the hallway to get stuff from the store. And that's an enduring legacy for him. President of Mile UN, the one that was really winning all the awards, that's legacy. Okay? He's leaving an enduring mark. He's leaving a legacy behind. Okay? And it's one of those things where having an important legacy is something that will carry on even after you're gone. Okay? And so as a father, it's important that I teach my boys legacy because prayerfully I have left them something. Okay? I've already left them one thing that's going to carry on after me, and that's their last name. That's legacy. Your name that you give to your sons is legacy because that name will carry on after you're gone if they live longer than you. That's legacy. Leaders who, we'll just use the president as an example. The president, whatever decision he makes, because we haven't had a female president yet, but whatever decision he makes or has made will leave a good or bad legacy. And every president has both. Every president has left a good legacy, and every president has left a bad legacy, for the most part. Especially in the modern presidents. Okay? And depending on, depending on who you ask, will depend on, I guess, the good and bad legacy that they feel that they've left behind. Okay? But every president leaves a legacy behind. Not in the White House, because every time the president comes in, they change all the decorum basically in the White House. Okay, for the most part. And so that's not the legacy that they're leaving behind. The legacy that they're leaving behind is the decisions that they made. Okay? So President Lyndon Johnson, he is known for the Civil Rights Act of the 60s. Because there was a prior Civil Rights Act in the 1800s that hardly nobody talks about. Okay? But in reality, it wasn't President Johnson that really made, initially made all that. It was President Kennedy that started all that. He just so happened got the credit for it. Okay? But President Kennedy started it. But, President Johnson finished it and then got the credit for it. But that's his legacy. That's not President Kennedy's legacy. That's President Johnson's legacy. Okay? And so that's a good legacy. Okay? President Lincoln, the Emancipation Proclamation, legacy. He'll forever be remembered for that. Okay? Legacy is important. Everybody, talks about, we don't care what people think of us. That's a lie. Because in reality, they do. They might be able to handle people not caring better than others. But in reality, everybody wants to be remembered for something. Everybody wants to be remembered for something. And so in leaving a legacy, that allows you to be remembered for something. And again, as I state, every father who has sons has already left one legacy, and that's your name. That's my last name that my boys are carrying on and that will give to their sons. That's a legacy that a man leaves to really all his children, but mainly his sons. Because again, daughters who marry get married, to a man, take on that man's last name. Okay. The legacy that women leave is the children that they bear. So my sons bear, a piece of their mother, because my wife carried them. She carried all three of them. That's legacy. DNA is legacy. And I know we're getting, I'm not saying we're getting into the weeds, but DNA is legacy, because every time, a woman gives birth to a child, that child bears not only those parents' DNA, but the people before them. So DNA is legacy. Your physical traits are the legacy of that child's parents. Okay. My parents left their legacy to me and my brother. We are the image of our parents. Every child is an image of their parents. My boys are an image of me and my wife. That's legacy. DNA is legacy. My last name is legacy, especially to the boys. And that's all I have, so my last name is their first legacy that I've left my boys. I tell them all the time, okay? In the end, all you have is your name, especially that last name. You mess it up, not only do you mess yourself up, but you're messing me up too. So it's important that you don't tarnish somebody's name, especially their last name. It's important. Okay? How you conduct yourself affects not only you, but it affects your parents. Even after they're dead and gone, it still affects them, because that's their name that they've given you. So not doing stupid stuff is important, because again, that last name that you carry is a legacy. Okay? The things that you do as an individual is legacy, good and bad. The way you treat people and how they'll remember you is legacy. When you die and somebody creates a program, and the epitaph that's said on your gravestone or what's said in that program at your funeral is legacy. So if you are a fair, honest, and good person, then what's going to be said is going to reflect how you treated people. If you are a bad person, that's how it's going to be put in there. In fact, almost nothing will be said of you. And again, legacy can be bad. Look at Hitler. his legacy is a bad one, but but it's legacy nevertheless. He left an enduring legacy of evil that still carries on to this day. Again, legacy is not always good. Some legacy is bad. Jeffrey Dahmer, the Zodiac killer, have left legacy. Not good legacy, but bad legacy. But they yet have left legacy because people still remember them. People still remember them. Lenin left a legacy. A bad one, but left a legacy. Because people remember what he did and all the people that he killed and murdered. Okay? Not Lenin, I'm sorry. Not Lenin, I meant Stalin. I apologize. Stalin. Like Hitler, killed millions. They left a legacy that we're still talking about to this day. Okay? Legacy is important. So when I went to my classmate's retirement, and even though the program really didn't say a whole lot, when his commander read his bio, his bio was so good it almost made me feel bad, because I know my bio won't be nowhere near that good. His bio was so good that his legacy will live on, not only there at the Air War College, but in the Air Force as a whole. I was thoroughly impressed with his bio. So impressed it made me feel bad, because I know that my legacy may or may not be anywhere near that, especially in the military. It's not jealous as much as it is, wow, he did a lot in the 28 years that he spent in the Air Force. Wow. What an impact that he made. He may not even realize the impact he made. But wow. Wow. That's legacy. That's legacy. Legacy is what you leave behind and what people remember you by. That's legacy. Families that are able to leave land and possessions to their children or relatives, that's legacy. You may have a famous relative, legacy. People still remember that famous relative, legacy. That's why I'm so enamored and about studying royalty and monarchs, because they are constantly leaving legacy, and people remember them. Good and bad, they remember them and have remembered them for centuries and centuries and centuries. The legacy and just the British monarchy alone goes back centuries and centuries. People still remember all these monarchs because they left legacy. common people can still leave a legacy behind. You may not have land to give to your kids. You may not have money to give to your kids. But legacy is more than physical objects. It's emotional, spiritual. You know, those type of legacies. How you treated people, how you treated your children, legacy. They'll always remember you for stuff. Always. Legacy of my parents probably isn't the greatest. I had a mother and father, but my father was an alcoholic all my life until I left. Till just before I left. He got sober right before I went into the military at 17. But what I remember of my father isn't necessarily great. I remember him being a drunk. I remember him always coming home and late, especially on Fridays and Saturdays mainly. He wasn't a pleasant person when he was drunk. But one good thing that my dad left me was a work ethic. My dad works his butt off. And as I'm older now, I don't focus on the bad things. They're important because they've shaped me in my life and they had an effect on me. But as I get older, the thing I remember the most is his work ethic. My father works his butt off and still does to this day. Still does in his 80s to this day. That man can work. That's where I get my work ethic from. Is my father. Because he's a worker. Thing I remember about my mother. She took care of us, even though Dad really wasn't around. I mean, Dad was around, but really didn't do much. Mom did everything. Mom took us to school. Mom took us to the sports stuff. She took us everywhere. She was there all the time. Okay, that's the legacy my mother left. Always there. Did everything. That's a legacy. And there are going to be good and bad legacies, just like there are with me. Good and bad legacies. And I just pray, as my youngest and last son graduates high school tomorrow, that I have left him prayerfully more positive than negative legacy. That he'll be able to use that when he goes off to college and he starts his own family. Same with my oldest and my middle child. And I think the thing that I have left all my boys is a work ethic, because my boys work. My oldest works his butt off. My middle son works his butt off. My youngest son he works his butt off. And I'm thankful that I was able to leave a good work ethic to my boys. I don't know what else I might have left them. I pray that it was positive, and I pray that it was good. And I'll have more to say about that later. But I know that I've left my boys a good work ethic, and that they're hardworking. Hard worker, being a hard worker is not necessarily something that really anybody wants anymore, unfortunately. It's all about networking. It's not about working hard. Well, that's not the way I was raised, and that's not the way I raised my boys, though my middle and youngest son especially have learned how to network. So that's a blessing, without giving up hard work. Legacy is important. What you leave the next generation is important. What this country is leaving to the next generation is almost all bad legacy. It's all negative, almost. And that's a shame. But as individual families that have children, even single parents, there's nothing more important than leaving legacy to your children. A leader leaving legacy to the people who are under you. People remember you for what you've left. People remember you for what you've done if you're still alive. That's how they're going to remember you. Legacy is important. So let us remember that we need to be leaving a positive and good legacy. You might leave negative and bad legacy. It's possible. I include myself in that. Raising children isn't all perfect. Being a husband isn't all perfect. You're going to have issues. You're going to have days. And those will impact your children. But I pray that the legacy I leave my boys is much more positive than it is negative. I have made mistakes. I'll be the first one to admit it. But I pray that I've left more of a positive and good legacy than anything bad or negative. And that's what they'll carry with them. Always be prepared to leave a legacy. Even if you don't want to, you're going to leave one. Even if you don't want to, you're going to leave one. What you do matters. And people will remember you for what you do and what you say. That's a legacy. So leave a good one so that people will talk well of you when the Lord calls us home. And when your funeral is going on, people will say good things about you. And not rejoice that you're gone. That's where we want to be. Legacy. And again, I know in these modern times, legacy is not necessarily the popular thing, but it still is important. What you do can last a lifetime. Not only for you, but for the people after you, especially if you have children. It can last a lifetime, and their lifetime, and so on. Because if you've left good legacy, that legacy will be carried on through their children. They'll pass it on. Legacy is important. So let's remember that. I hope you all got something out of this today. If you have any comments about legacy, leave them down below. Love to hear it. Any testimonials, leave it down below. I'd love to hear it. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I would really appreciate it. I appreciate all the members I have and all the comments and likes that I've received. Again, in leaving comments, be respectful. That's all I ask, is just be respectful. You don't have to agree, just be respectful. And check out my son's website, philmartin.org, PHILL Martin, MARTIN.org. Check his website out. He's got a lot of great stuff on there. And that'll be it for today. Prayerfully, I will be back on tomorrow, but we'll see, because tomorrow is my son's graduation from high school. So it's going to be I got to work and then go to that. So it's going to be a busy day, but I'm going to try to fit something in if I can. So until tomorrow or the next time, God bless you.